Where you just get a global sort of speaking for one. It's not really straight, but all of it.
What's up?
Start here.
Changing it.
A lot of recommendation there. Yeah. Also, it's sort of, but
I can work on this when I get home. Just have to worry about breaking it.
yeah.
Yeah. Like every single.
So now it's 35.
Just about that. Okay, well, I will find. Okay.
Yes, Jane.
Randy. Or not.
Anybody wants to just make sure I'll like sort of.
I was gonna say. Is there ever, whether it's not something?
Lisa, that's the thing.
When we had a holiday, since the back of the.
No, you owns it now, bud.
Yes.
Right.
It's just kind of off.
Yeah.
What's that?
It's the next day.
Yeah, the one I came around. 22. It's the Tuesday after, so. The civic meeting, we've got the other one.
Yeah.
Right, and the thing is that they're asking for a special event tonight. That's what we're voting. It's not like. The only thing that I'm questioning more. If, if there's space, like, you know, like they can be so far from. I think choose that, but I don't know what the requirements are.
That's what it is. The OD.
What's the idea?
Original density.
Oh.
Also known as even after.
See, I don't know, I don't know.
I have heard of the stamps with no work all.
Like, I can.
What's the staff's position on case two?
I don't know, I think.
I don't remember.
If there's nothing in the supplement.
I've never been here.
There is nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Probably.
so, okay.
Yeah, like I said, I had no clue.
It has conditional approval.
I like the fancy spelling.
Yeah, I did never got on.
Oh.
They had put the details of, air division, the lead works.
Right.
Dave Paul, we had mental personal things. So will you let me know?
That's great spelling.
Day some the road.
Sure.
So we still gonna have a parks person?
So I don't think you're getting.
What? I didn't hear, I know. Yeah, that's what I typed. Right.
Yeah.
I'm not here for that.
At least for now.
Tired. Getting everything. The refrigerator is place, they have trouble in this. Oh, bring them in. Here's what it's going to be. So, open the doors, I guess, right to the rack on the wall. Do it in the it's kind of a more than the things that they do, but then yeah. They open the doors, so don't use it. Those it's just sad, but I went out and tried. I need to call, like, it's today. But we're gonna hopefully release this story. Or you, yes, so, or one policy they are just, well, that's fair. Right, shut them, see what they do.
That's slow.
Second thing I signed off on, so that it is just on the inside. So, yeah,
That's just trying to figure out how. Appreciate how to wait.
yeah, it's, oh, the discussion, yeah, discussion, yeah, science. Yeah, so like. I had it. So, it was to use something in place.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what I did as well.
Also for credit. That's a fair point. It's a lot of crossover.
Not only Oliver.
It's real.
And it's. There's even more than 40 sounds in that. You like else for every
looking.
It's often, that's funny.
So
has them run.
that state. Ronnie,
Much like power.
Ronnie for bypass.
Programs.
Even though it's right, it's killer ones.
Right.
Every.
I mean, it's not cheap.
You know, like,
Yes, it's often just like, I don't know if it's real, but.
And then all the rest of it.
Right. And at our, it's like very often. It's got to have maps of the bridge. It's right.
And so what did they get?
Because
They're right. Because the only food.
I know.
And if I get a chance to speak. And it's breached into the.
She knew. Yeah, there is so good things.
Sure. Don't have their result there, yeah. Right.
Is
So. Well, I'm British one now.
Yeah.
Chance to.
Yeah, you should double check.
And. Just talk. Now, see. If she didn't write.
Yeah.
Right.
This is, I'm reading it. It's an impressive.
He's kind of.
Similar, similar. Quick things.
Some skills, thanks. Yeah. Alright, that's the new one.
Understanding it.
They lots of balls. So there's some code is being used. Probably each of the variants. Let's see. Oh, it's just, sorry.
Oh, yeah, it's based on the what. Right on the last one. Yes,
On their side.
yeah. Really, it's sort of interesting. It's changed something.
I didn't, it seems like she just doesn't use the version.
And she's not something.
So she.
Oh, additional.
That's not.
So she, or then, that's.
That's just.
This tugs at the junior. Press the front.
Well, they actually have it.
You know.
Supplemental. Yeah.
That. People want to be.
Yeah. I don't want to be a yell, but first two pictures.
That they, you just can't function in some structured environments. That's, it just, and they, but eventually their demons, where their ugly heads again, they started back on their behavior. Thank God that one was, and I've seen it happen time after time. And people who work with others,
No, that's
Fine.
yeah. So then you want more houses today. John Payne. Tell.
Oh.
Yeah, oh, okay.
But that's what I do. It's the law, it's like, that's. But I can't.
Or we could just ask it in the form of questions. Something about that. Whatever reasons for saying them. I still think the best part of last meeting was the names too. Oh, are you going to keep just make resident and he's just not out that one that everyone that I'm doing. And then it was like, oh, and there is a family that's going to get displaced.
And they have.
Already. That's awful.
They will be on that, they unfortunately, they want a lot of money, these, I found out. Oh, no,
No?
no, they had a majority, they had, you know. Well, they don't. Oh, they're.
Probably kind of is interested in.
So now they. They're not. Yes,
So you're in it.
right, that's that. And Brandon's gonna find out. So, they just say,
Just makes more and more sense.
Michael Perry did.
Saw the stuff outside and I didn't know.
I'll tell you more.
Speaking of, yeah.
Before 30. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a long leads down here.
They should.
And I'm being nursing.
I mean, I look at Jen now. So she was, you know, she was a murder. I still gave her 30 days. And that was what I was advised. But it was.
I mean, that's when I thought that. There's, they do, but I just want to hear.
Sure. Yeah.
But it didn't.
So helpful.
It's just a help. It's just.
Which I do.
So what? Learn to learn has pretty simple.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Lactose. And so do I should do
It's fair. Here's my stuff. I said like this. Roots. Yeah, that's just what I think. So, see, guys, I was hurt, but you know, it's a tough. Little things, yeah.
Are you pulling up the receipt? You're like.
Well,
Needing a garage, that is super helpful.
Yes, they are. But that's super helpful. Thank you for coming. Because before the conference. Had to do. It's like in the back and listening, not. They're designed. They're trying the future, so that you don't appreciate or know reference. It's like last one, it's a thing. There's always one thing and it's being printed, so it's not. Yeah, I follow. Yeah, that could be it, but thank you, that is super helpful. Well, no, that would have so that's where this two other things. Exactly. So, cool, thank you. I will hear your information.
it's right. So,
Yeah, I like that.
Just like to see. Yeah. Just do it really, it's very similar to the
Yes, I was like, yeah, and I usually jump in those trees, but like, this one's so cool.
It's funny because I'm just fine, I think, yeah. That's cute on Saturday. I will share it, so now. She told me that there's still something, and she was like, oh, I can really window making, signed up and just like, I suppose.
Oh, no, right.
It started in the. After we're in Jason. Yeah. It's okay. It was their dog. The horse not boring. So.
That's
Yeah, but you, I know, I had it from such a. Yeah. Why is there shit?
Okay, I'd like to call the November 14th Development Commission meeting to order. We start with the pledge of allegiance.
Like, I think it's.
Which one's saying things?
Okay, let us begin the agenda. Case number 1, C 23-070, 879 Mounds.
The 1.06 acre site consists of 4 undeveloped parcels, 2 full parcels and 2 partial parcels, all in the R2F residential district. The applicant requests the AR2 apartment residential district to develop a multi-unit residential development. This property is subject to ordinance number 0062-2024. Case number CV 23-117, passed on January 8th, 2024, which was conditioned on this follow-up rezoning request. North, south, east, and west of the site, there is a mix of single, double, and multi-unit dwellings, all in the R2F residential district. The site is within the planning boundaries of the Near East Area Plan, which does not have a specific land use at this location. The site is located within the boundaries of the Near East Area Commission, whose recommendation is for approval. Concurrent council variance CV 24-103 has been filed, which includes variances to increase the building height, reduce parking lot screening requirements, reduce the required parking, reduce the building setback from East Mound Street, and reduce the minimum side yard. That request will be heard by City Council and will not be considered at this Development Commission meeting. The proposed AR2 apartment residential district will allow multi-unit residential uses on the site. While the Near East Area Plan does not have a recommended land use for this location, staff recognize the site's proximity to Nationwide Children's Hospital, a major employment center, and East Main Street, a transit-oriented mixed-use corridor, as reasons to support multi-unit residential land use at this location. Additionally, the rezoning request fulfills a commitment with the previously approved council variance ordinance number 0062-2024. And the city's recommendation, city department's recommendation is for approval.
Okay, traffic and
No traffic issues.
planning.
No comment from planning.
Okay, is anyone here to speak regarding case number 1? Well, let's hear David, floor is yours.
Yes, thank you, Development Commission. My name is Dave Perry. I'm here as agent for Community Housing Network. I'm with Doug Decker, who is the project manager with Community Housing Network. Oh, thank you. This project zoning-wise started in 2023. About this time last year, we were working on a variance to the R2F district. And the reason for the variance, consistent with city policy, is to allow variances for affordable housing to proceed first and then follow up with rezoning after they are funded and so on. So Community Housing Network has been funded by OFA and the project is a go. So we are completing the obligation to rezone the property.
Okay. There is no one here to speak. Get you, you've done your job, you've got both approvals necessary. Any questions or comments from anyone?
I just have one comment. I'm familiar with what how that land's been used for the last 10 years. That, the design is completely cooked as far as how you're going into that community garden. But I would suggest that you make some sort of overture to it rather than footage, was more on board the fence and the dumpster. But, you know, there's the possibility that you could be pretty definitive community with a little peaceful bumping into neighbors.
Well, thank you, Mr. Ingerson. Community Housing Network does an outstanding job of reaching out. And this application has been reviewed by OTINA with full support, also the South of Main group, and there have been a number of meetings with the community garden folks also. One of the variances in the 2024 variance that will go with the rezoning is to not provide parking lot screening along the the 5-foot parking lot screening along the driveway and so on, to not create those barriers. And that was very well received by the community garden folks. And the dumpster will meet the code required screening and landscaping. And it just worked in this case, as a better location versus the truck getting deeper on the site to the west. But community garden people have been very involved with the application.
Yeah, totally.
You know, Dean.
Any other questions? We need a motion to take. All right, I guess take turns. Now we need a motion to call the roll. Okay, it's called.
Maria Conway,
Yes.
John Morrison,
Yeah. All right.
Hannah Wood, Chair Fitzpatrick.
Yes, you're approved.
Very good, thank you.
Okay, case number 2. Z24-045, 2366 Brooklyn Road.
The site consists of one parcel developed with a single unit dwelling in the R1 residential district. The requested R4 residential district will allow development of residential uses between 1 and 4 dwelling units. To the north of the site is an apartment complex in the AR1 residential district. To the south and east are single unit dwellings in the R1 residential district. To the west is the undeveloped parcel in the R1 residential district. The site is located within the planning boundaries of the North One area plan, which recommends medium high density mixed residential land use in its location. The site is located within the boundaries of the Northland Community Council. The recommendation has not been received at the time the staff report was finalized. The request of our residential district will allow development of residential uses between 1 and 4 dwelling units. Staff supports the proposal that's consistent with the Northland area plan's recommendation of medium high density mixed residential land uses at this location. Therefore, city department's recommendation is for approval.
Okay, any questions of the staff? I understand that Northland is on here to speak for. It's on a different schedule than we're on, so let me ask about traffic and planning for. And
No traffic issues.
Chris,
No additional comments from planning.
okay, is anyone here to speak regarding case number 2 besides Dave Paul? Anybody? Okay, Dave, come on.
Is the applicant here, by the way? Do we know?
That's in back there.
Okay, well. Yes, sir. Thank you, Chair Fitzpatrick. My name is David Pohl. I co-chair of the NCC Development Committee. And yes, as you mentioned, we have not yet been able to meet with this applicant. And I can go into as little or as much detail about why that is as you care to hear. I did notify staff on October 11th that we would not be able to meet with the applicant until our January meeting, which is on January 25th. Both I and perhaps the planner share some responsibility for some miscommunication that led to it being scheduled today. But that being an aside, we would respectfully ask the commission if it would be willing to table this case or postpone until we have had a chance to meet with the applicant. It is on our January 25th agenda, which would take it then to the February 12th meeting of this commission. Again, I can explain in more detail, but only if you care to hear it and if we have time to talk about it.
You know, the fact that he's not here now, tells me there's a bit of a communication lapse. Best we can do is try to judge it on its merits and then offer a conditional approval unless it runs into some sort of issue with the area.
And let me say, I understand, and the planner had pointed out that there are cases where the commission, in order to keep the process moving, must do exactly what you said, keep the case moving, and then ask the applicant to circle back if there's some disconnect. And some commissions are perhaps not as responsive or as prompt about notifying you of their findings as perhaps we are. I hope we have a reputation for being diligent about this, and we'd like.
You're a legend.
Oh, stop. Thank you, sir.
Well, I think proper thing would be my recommendation is we table it until there's some human conflict. Very true. Is that the mark?
Thank you.
But it seems like a long to get to there, along with activity up there.
Again, we are, it would take a little bit of explaining. We do have a lot of cases. We are trying to give priority to cases that deal with multifamily, affordable housing, et cetera. That's causing a little disruption in our planning. And we've had a few people who are remaining on our agendas and then not doing what was necessary for us to actually hear their cases, and that caused a pile up.
Yeah.
There's more, but I won't go into it unless you want me to.
No, I understand.
Thank you, sir.
All right, we'll move ahead then. Case number 3. D24-030, 1549, 1559, 3-7.
In your supplemental packets, you will find an updated limitation text, an updated set of plans, which have not been reviewed by staff at present, and 4 letters of opposition. The site consists of 2 parcels developed with self-storage and single-unit residential uses in the LM Manufacturing District and the R2 Residential District. The applicant requests the LAR3 district to allow an apartment building containing up to 210 dwelling units. To the north, south, and east are single-unit dwellings in the R2 Residential District. To the west is a convenience store and an automotive repair business in the C4 Commercial District and LC4 Limited Commercial District, respectively. The site is within the planning boundaries of the South Side Plan, which recommends community, commercial, and low to medium density residential land uses at this location. Additionally, the site is subject to early adoption of the Columbus Citywide Planning Policies Design Guidelines. The site is located within the boundaries of the Columbus South Side Area Commission, whose recommendation is for disapproval. The limitation text includes commitments to a maximum of 210 units, lot coverage, landscaping, fencing, and green space, building materials, and lighting. Additionally, text includes commitments to develop the site in accordance with the submitted site plan and building elevations. The requested LAR3 Limited Apartment Residential District will allow a 210-unit apartment building as developed in accordance with the submitted limitation text, site plan, and building elevations. Planning is potentially supportive of the use. However, staff note the proposed density of 127 dwelling units per acre is inconsistent with the South Side Plan's recommendation of low to medium density residential, which is between 4 to 6 dwelling units per acre. The plan does state that somewhat higher densities can be supported for residential areas that front Phoebus Avenue, conditioned on the implementation of higher development standards and sufficient buffering and screening of adjacent areas. Additionally, C2P2 recommends projects that proposed a density greater than the recommended land use include a high level of site and architectural design. While the applicant has provided landscaping and screening along the site's perimeter, staff requests a proposed density more consistent with the plan's recommendation. Zoning staff can support the requested LAR3 district once outstanding comments regarding the limitation text and the site plan have been resolved. The Department of Public Service Division of Traffic Management has indicated that the applicant has not yet demonstrated sufficient progress with regard to a traffic study for this application, and additional comments or access revisions may be necessary based on the results of the approved traffic study. In conjunction with any other considerations from the traffic study, there will need to be additional review of the design of the proposed full access point to Phoebus Avenue to determine if revisions would be needed to ensure that a vehicle is able to turn into the site while a vehicle is waiting to exit the site. There is potential that a wider width and or larger radii than what is currently shown may be necessary. As such, the Division of Traffic Management is also not in support of this request at this time. Therefore, City Department's recommendation is for disapproval.
Okay. And
The traffic study has still not yet been initiated, so we have not had staff report.
so I had started. Okay. Chris?
Yeah, no further comments. I'll just note that the revisions to the plan over time have become more consistent with plan policy, but it is still well in excess of the plan's recommended density.
Okay. Do you have any feel for what appropriate density would be?
So it's hard to say. Our highest land use classification at C2B2 is 45 units per acre and above. This was not part of the zone in phase 1 primary corridors.
Yeah, it's not a corridor.
It's not one of the corridors that were identified in that process. It potentially could be a future corridor, but that has been
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, let me ask, is there anyone here that wants to speak regarding case number 3? 1, 2, 1. Who is our area commission representative? That is you. Okay, besides you, 3 other speakers. Only 3. This is city council rule. We're going to play by the same rules. Each speaker can speak for 3 minutes. Try not to be redundant because we can approach different situations that you see pertinent to your situation. Among you, pick out 3 speakers beside the area. Now, do you want to add anything to what the staff has presented?
Yeah, the applicant wants to speak first, and then I was going to speak.
Okay, let's hear what you have to say in addition to what the presentation, and we have the speaker.
Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Nicole Ibrahim. One of the applicants on the project. Appreciate the opportunity to meet in front of you all. This has been quite a process for us. We've owned the land at Phoebus for a number of years, about 6 years now, but have been in the Columbus area for quite a bit of time. What we're presenting and what you're reviewing is the culmination of many area meetings, committee meetings, community meetings. We really are trying to develop something that's going to help the community, that's going to provide more housing units, that's going to provide more affordable housing units. We've made several adjustments to try to incorporate the feedback from the community. We understand that there's a lot of different preferences and opinions, and so we're trying to make something that's going to do well for the area. What's there now is not doing well for the area. So, we're happy to take the guidance and continue to hear the feedback, and we appreciate how active the community is, because that just shows how much, they want to make sure it's something good for the neighborhood, and we're equally aligned. We've, again, tried to make adjustments and changes based on a lot of the feedback that we've received, and appreciate the chance to review the project again with this committee.
Okay. All right.
And
Yep,
sorry,
I
Mike.
appreciate it. You guys know me, Rob Ellis, Pink Development. We started with 450 units and 500,000 square feet, 10 stories. We had a special meeting. We've had 2 civic group meetings. We've met with the South Side Area Commission once. We're going back again. Each time, every revision that's been requested has been modified and made. I could provide a track record of everything we've done. And I think that's what where we've kind of gotten, which is really good to see some feedback from planning and everything like that. This site is an AR3. We are developing it to AR3 standards. There are no variances. There will be no variances. It's properly set back. It's properly parked. Every design standard that's requested by the residential planning examiner has been done. This community did not want commercial here, so we switched to an all residential project. We had commercial. I think it would have been amazing to have some, but we removed that commercial because they didn't want to sit it vacant. It's been amazing to get the feedback from the community based on the people that are very close to where this application is. We requested to meet with the civic group again this month. Each time presenting our application, they were not able to accommodate us on this meeting. In terms of Pizzuti's density that was approved, it was surrounded by all residential. We went the same pathway in CPD. That would put our number of units at 192. We've told planning that we're open to additional reductions in terms of density, and if the board would be okay with a conditional approval and going back to the South Side Area Commission with a certain number of units, we would be well. And also on the traffic study, we would be very supportive of that. If not, we're happy to come back. The traffic study, actually, the money was wired 2 weeks ago, but it went to the wrong account. So the applicants are figuring kind of that out. So we've done everything. We've listened to everyone. It's a very different proposal. I believe we've met some of the C2P2 guidelines and everything that's been done. But we've come a long way. They asked for 2 stories in the front. This is 2 stories in the front. They asked for nothing over 35 feet. We did nothing over 35 feet. We have bent over backwards, and based on the Pizzuti's development and this development commission's comments on that Pizzuti development, the main feedback was that we didn't work. They didn't work with the community. We've done the opposite. We've asked along the way, but at some point, it does have to be a for-profit venture. This is an affordable housing committed project. We've also added rapid rehousing vouchers. You cannot get a bed in a homeless shelter right now for more than 2 weeks as a single male or as a couple. In the library that we met with this application, as they complain about taxes, there's people sleeping next door in between a bench and a seat. I can bring those people to speak, or we can push an application like this through that would allow for those types of people to get jobs in this community and to also get housing.
Okay. If you wouldn't mind moving out of the seat, then have our speakers.
This is the front commitments too. These are some,
Comments.
yeah. These are some of the
All right,
projects.
just leave them there.
Yeah.
Back.
All right, for sure. Usually, I just.
Okay, the area commissioner, please come, give us your name and the record.
My name is Maudie Grace, and I'm the commissioner for the Deshua Park Civic Association.
Okay.
Okay, a lot of the things that they've said was not correct. And I provided information to you all prior to this. So I won't go into reading all of that different material. But the first issue that we came up against was when our civic made the recommendation for a non-approval. We found out later that the zoning person had given us erroneous information. So then Mr. Ellis didn't want our civic information to count. The other issue that we have is we do not want the R2, A, whatever he's got there, because that takes all of the power from the people within the area. They can do whatever they want to do on that property. And we've had issues with that property ever since the casket company closed.
Just for the record, that initially you were referring to our LAR3. That's the category that this request is headed for. Just
Well, they told us a AR3, I think it was.
that's right, LAR3. We're good.
Okay.
We're good. We're on the right track.
And, but anyway, we want to have a say. And we have tried to work with them and told them 2 stories was the maximum we should go, because all of the houses around there are ranches. And if you put a 3 or 4 story building in there, it's going to stick out like a sore thumb and make our residents uncomfortable with what they're doing. We also did not say we didn't want any commercials. So I don't understand why I'm not being understood when I speak. And I've talked to them 2 or 3 times. And basically, I've talked to 3 different sets of people. The same people never show up at the meetings. So it's very confusing as to what they're trying to do and why they're trying to do it. We have given them what we think should fit on that lot and be acceptable. But they continue to try to force large numbers of apartments in that small area. And also, I'm concerned about the trash issue. So we have quite a few issues that they don't seem to understand. I'm assuming because they don't live here, they're from Florida. So we just want our community to stay as normal as possible.
Okay,
We're not against apartments being there.
looking at the number. Where you start, 4 to 6 units versus 127, where it is now. So it's a big. We get it.
Okay.
Okay, now we have our 3 speakers, 3 minutes. Who wants to be first?
Hello.
Here's your name for the record.
Brandy Payne. Forgive me if I'm a little nervous, not used to speaking in front of people. I did send in my opposition. Say bring it. So I did put in my testimony for opposition, which is included in your packet, so I won't read all that, but briefly, what I will say in opposition to it, we've been in a community for 20+ years. Like the commissioner said, it's mostly rent style homes. Every proposed image they've showed us has been different. You know, apartments is not something we wanted. We bought the property. The owners and applicant continue to say they've spoken with us, the community, and are trying to work with us, but it's not true. It's for profit. I get it. It's what we do. So we all want to make money. However, it's a community, you know, and we all have communities, and we just want ours to be fair. She spoke to the trash. They said the property's not working currently. If it's not working, they're doing something wrong. Why would we benefit them and give them additional 225% increase? They have 1 tenant. The property's littered with trash right now. There's a couch, a table, all type of stuff. How can we trust they're gonna do better when they have additional? There's gonna be vermin. There's more likely gonna be an increase in crime. Columbus has a 26% homicide rate right now in apartments as of November 2024. Our properties will devalue. They will depreciate. Most of the people in our community don't come from money. Sorry.
You're doing good. Tracking.
We work hard for everything we have. And I know in suburban communities, they do a great job of keeping stuff out that they don't want. There will be a lot more people here in this meeting that are against it, but they're at work. They can't make it. Those of us that made it, we're here. So we're just urging you, please. Don't approve.
Okay. Very good point. Very well. Okay, next speaker.
I'm gonna follow that up. My name is Sarah Larger. Sarah Larger. Ready?
Okay.
I have lived on Muller Road my whole life, so that's behind this project, as is my father. I was blessed with the opportunity to purchase the house that my grandparents built 2 years ago and deepen my roots in Muller Road and the South Side. Sorry, my heart's racing. That property is catty corner, kind of back behind this project. I chose to stay in this area because it is filled with residents that care about and take ownership of their neighborhood and the surrounding community. Something that I and many of my neighbors are concerned may not be the goals of the residents moving into a large apartment complex such as this. This is a scenario that is played out with the rotation of ownership of apartment complexes and rentals in our neighborhood for years, as long as I've been alive. We have two main concerns with this development. A lot of promises have been made with this project, and despite many giving assurance that their promises are binding, what reason do we have to believe that they will be kept? This plan has changed threefold since we first heard about it, let alone since our last Civic Association meeting. From 10 to 5 to 2 stories, commercial to green space, and everything in between. Every group I have seen the developer speak with has gotten a visual rendering and written plan that has been starkly different from the previous, with new promises being thrown out with each concern in an attempt to dazzle the crowd. How do we know that it won't change drastically again? I question whether they really presented it to the community in good faith. With so much uncertainty, I ask, what is the motive behind this request? The only thing that is clear is that they want to make money off the property. Mr. Ellis states this regularly, while also in the late stages emphasizing how he's planning to help those less fortunate in the community. Something that doesn't add up when you're talking about maximizing profits while building a high-end looking structure with a park, water feature, and an automated parking system. All features mentioned by the developer in the recent Southside Area Commission meeting as part of the plan he was presenting to them. In tandem with creating large amounts of affordable housing for families and community members that are rebuilding their lives from various struggles. Pink Development and the property owners have not come to the community with a clear plan, only thinly laid out ideals that change with the wind and have tried to explain them away with all these drastic changes away with false affability and the implementation of community feedback. From the beginning, this project has been presented as something that our community needs. Who are these out-of-state developers whose secondary business is in online adult entertainment to tell the residents what we need? If this scale of a project was a need and made any sense, I would support it. A small complex with a few tenants, maybe. Adding hundreds of new residents when we could not safely keep a pharmacy within easily travel of the area is absurd. The extra build-up of traffic just off of an already precarious intersection will threaten the safety of all who travel through. It does not seem as though this is a project that has been presented based on the needs of the community around it, and rather a need to find a use for an unwanted property, not a property acquired for this purpose. The truth is that our area cannot support this kind of development in this location. It is a small residential area of the South Side, and though we welcome any new residents, we ask that developers do not harm our community for the sake of blind progress, an intention that has been all but clear with this project. I ask for the good of the current and future residents of this little area of the South Side that you do not approve this application.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And third speaker.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Good evening. Um, My name is Linda Larger, and I submitted written testimony. You have it in your package. So I'm not going to read back to you what you can already read, but I just really wanted to add my emphasis on the testimony of the prior speakers that this is a community that has been very pride of ownership, you know, and so to put something like this kind of plopped down in the middle of this neighborhood that struggles, it's a South Side neighborhood, you know, they struggle with crime in the area, they struggle with litter, they struggle with to maintain their homes that they've invested in, that they've worked hard for. I am Sarah's aunt. My mother, her grandmother, my parents built the house that she lives in, and the house where her dad, my brother, and I grew up. I still own a large piece of real estate that is behind where this would go. So I have a vested interest. I still feel like the South Side is my community. So I think that you should really take to heart the concerns, and certainly believe that you will take to heart the concerns of the residents who have felt like that they're not getting a straight story from this developer, an out-of-state developer who wants to come in and fix this piece of land and make it better. How, I'm not sure how any of this makes it better. But I just wanted to reinforce everything that has been said thus far and ask you to reject this request.
Okay.
Thank you.
Understand. Let's get the applicant back up to the table.
So.
First and foremost, it's been stated that this location is not on any recognized corridor. I think you're aware of the latest changes to the zoning code, which would like to see earnest and dense development on the specified corridors in the city. And we all know that there's like High Street, Broad Street, et cetera, heavily traveled bus service, multi-lane, collector routes. This is not those locations. So my eyes are bulging looking at the existing 4 to 6, maybe less density. Did you really want 450 units when you started?
Yes, sir.
Oh, on the same piece of property.
Yeah, it's 10 stories.
So you were good with like 500 units maybe?
Yeah, I think we should allow, this is an unlimited density rezoning application.
And
My opinion doesn't matter, I work for the applicants.
what?
My opinion doesn't matter, I work for the applicants in this case. This isn't one of my own
Where
personal.
are the applicants, where do they have that kind of density? Are they from some really heavily
They're-
populated area?
No.
They lived here just like we do.
No, we were going through options with what to do with the property. Currently, it's not doing the community any justice. It's hard to keep those storage units occupied, so it just attracts a lot of bad, other things that are going on. But we were told that the land would be good for a multifamily structure. We were also presented with options for hotels. We were trying to find some sweet spot where it could still be consistent or appropriate for the area. So we've been reducing down. We were hearing a lot about the housing needs in the area. We were hearing a lot about the the lack of housing options. So we were trying to find a way to do a mix of units so that it could be something that is able to, assist with some of that. Again, we've been scaling down based on the feedback that we're hearing about, from the community. We're trying to continue to get that guidance and, that's where.
I've been on this commission 25, 30 years, long time, seen a lot of cases.
Mhm.
And I do understand the city wants to bring in density, the city wants to build housing. And I also want to accomplish those goals for the city, but not at the expense of everything around those nodes. You already heard it, a project, different location, same thing, really high density, really small piece of property. And you just couldn't do that to the neighbor.
This is a 2 acre site almost, this is a different property than what I have.
Well, I understand, but that doesn't jump from 6 to 127 very easily. It's a quantum leap. These images you're showing, are those the project you've done?
No, these are the commitments in the front. This is the residential.
What are these pictures called?
This is what we are committing to for the front to look like. This is a residential.
Is that the plan?
Yes, that's in the commitment text.
Oh, I know it's in the commitment test. Did you build this? Do you own this? Is this?
No, these are rendered, these are real pictures right here of what we would build.
So
this
you're
is
copying
neighborhood.
What somebody else did and saying you're gonna be basically.
We're developing to what's been approved in the city.
Where?
We're developing what's been approved and passed in the city. Neighborhood launch. These townhomes here are selling for 900,000. There's a reason, that's the highest level architecture you can build.
Which one? The one that's behind you?
These right here, these sell for $950,000 in German Village.
This is not German Village. Sure, we'll be.
And it's probably the highest quality architecture. The architect, that's east of German Village. That's west of Whittier. Neighborhood launch, the same thing. This is a project you guys passed. These are all just the all brick nature these are for reference. But that's what's been passed and accepted by the city.
You're coming here before this group. City planner, professor at Ohio State University, architect. We've been there, we've done this. I've never had a project yet that it didn't start with a point coming in and say, hey, I own this land, I'm just going to get on it. And we're allowed to have 4 stories, he wants 5. That's the way clients are. I understand that. This is such a quantum leap with so little fundamental technical engineering behind it. That it's hard for, I know what it takes to put a project together. It's hard to say there's anything behind this but high hopes. And you're very unconvincing to show a picture of Mansard roofs. Say they're from the village. They aren't. They aren't flat earth. You're taking something that you think will look good as eye candy, and you're saying something like this.
Those are on Lathrop. That's on German Village.
Where?
Lathrop Street.
Which one of these?
Lathrop is the last street of German Village, and this is right on Lathrop. You can drive by it.
And where's that? That's also later.
That's a rendering. This is, you guys know where that's at. That's on, these are from the Southside Area Commissioners, one of the chairs who's directed us towards other projects that we want to use as reference. This is neighborhood launch downtown. This is Victorian style.
Hey, John, I applaud your free thinking. This is how things change and how things get done. But there's some really troubling things about what I'm looking at from your presentation. You've got a 4-story drop in less than 400 feet with no flat. So that's a 10% grade
8%.
And are rebuilding, you intend to build a retaining wall?
Yeah.
All the way around?
Yeah.
And you intend to have low-income housing here?
No, this is a market rate with affordable housing commitments. 20%,
And the units are 600 square feet?
400 to 900.
490 square feet a unit?
400 square feet to 900 square feet. Ones, twos, and threes.
If you do the math, you have to have 50 units of floor. A little more than 50 units of floor. You got 4 floors of housing, right? So 50 units of floor at 33,000 square feet floor with hallways and whatever, you're looking at 600 square feet a unit to get your number.
Mhm.
But you're gonna have some big units and then
Some small units, some studios, yeah, 500 square feet.
I just say, do you know what your development costs are for them?
Yeah.
Would you like to share that?
How much it would cost us to build for structured parking? It's an open deck parking. I'm a licensed general contractor.
You still didn't give me a number.
You said, do I want to share it? I think it's irrelevant for our rezoning application. I don't think that's going to change whatever you're going to say. I think maybe it might.
Got to you the question. Again. So, rethinking, Five Oaks, it's a rabbit out of a hat. I don't understand your intent. As if it is to provide low-income housing or affordable or market housing to that community.
I think you can accomplish all three. It's greater than 50%. My job is to make sure that this is an institutional level deal. That's 150 units and up. That's where the market is. That's where people buy and sell apartment buildings. This is a 2-acre site.
Yeah.
Yes.
If you are out of town, what are you?
I live in Miami.
Let me just ask you.
I moved 3 months ago, so I wouldn't say I'm an out-of-state developer. And I'm an agent for the applicant for this application.
You live in Columbus.
I don't live in Columbus.
Let me ask you, if this structure, if you live in this structure is next to you, how would you
With commercial, I'd feel great. With all apartments, I wouldn't want it.
do it?
With commercial, I would want the commercial space that the community asks us to remove, gyms, amenities, everything. This is a commercial site right now. It's a manufacturing district.
Well, if you will, tell me for those who do not school. See how flash.
Yeah, I saw that.
That is just. They are likely to protect and jealous and guard what they have.
Yeah, they have their own pieces. Okay.
And what you are doing is truly no respect to them. But this structure is humongous. It's humongous. In architecture, we have something we call neighborly approach, where we relate what is already existing. But this is not doing it. This is not doing it. So my appeal to you for the third time is you need to go back and revisit and do your recalculation like John, because it's asking about the structure, because by the time you build the four-story garage on that ground, it may not be beneficial for what you are trying to make out of it, and you say it's affordable housing or low cost housing, whatever you call it. So I think personally, I was not like, I would vote no, but I think, yeah, let that be disregarding the devil. It's not good.
I
Can I respond?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because, I mean, we totally understand the concern and we've tried to incorporate a lot of that. We've tried to add community space. We've tried to make it so that the community can also host events and host meetings and provide services within the structure. And that was a way for, you know, everyone to have access. So it's not like a foreign building housing a lot of outsiders that nobody is able to get into or see. We've also proposed that we would have in-state management with management offices in the building to make sure that everything in the building is properly supervised and maintained. So we totally understand the concerns of the community, and we've been trying to, the alterations that they're saying, like, oh, one day it's this, one day it's that, we try to incorporate, okay, you're concerned about that. We understand that concern. This is a way we can try to meet that issue. So we're trying to be very respectful. We're trying to provide something that's better than what is there now. We've scaled down. We're open to scaling down further. We're just trying to figure out what would that be? So that's, you know.
You're saying all the right things. But when you run the numbers, half of the units, if you put 50 units on a floor, which gets you to your number, 600 square feet a unit, you only have in the perimeter of the building 60 and another 3, you've got about 1,000 feet. You can't get all the units around the outside. It's too wide of a building. You're gonna have to put half of your units in the middle of the building that'll have no window.
Yeah.
You're making a hotel, okay? And.
From what we,
You're
sorry.
essentially, the building type that you're working with is a hotel. And half of the units will not have a window. And that's an amenity that the community wants to accept as reasonable.
No, I mean, that's not our intention. Our intention is not to have units without windows. We're just setting a.
That square footage wise, I'm sorry, it's not the fish is in the loaf. You're not gonna be able to do this.
I understand.
Okay?
Yeah.
Can I comment on that? In terms of the size of the units and the layouts, the way that we've zoned it is up to 210. So if it's 100 units or 105, my job is to put the footprint of what can go there, put the maximum amount of density that it is. Inside of the building, we can put a courtyard that has windows.
Can I tell you something before you get any further?
Yes.
In 30 years, no one has been given a zoning based on what the maximum number might be, just so we can monitor that. We don't know what you're gonna do, not what some maximum benchmark is that you have to somehow stay under. You're not making any sense, and in the other case you had, it was the same thing. You're showing a little tidbit of something that was half thought through. I'm looking at that site plan where there's nothing but open ground around it, and there isn't hardly any open space. You have a huge ramp and a collector circle like you might have at the port, at the airport, for letting cars out of the garage. You have a big box, and as John said, there's windows around the 4 walls, but what happens in the center? It's a mass of space. Nobody's got any windows. You're in an apartment that has no windows. You can't avoid that. This is, and your coverage, your lot coverage has got to be like 90%.
Lot coverage is 49%.
I would love to see that.
You can calculate it yourself. It's 49%. It's on there. It's 49%. The residential zoning clearance, it's a 1.63 acre lot. It's just math.
I don't see it. And you absolutely have not come close to making any case for what you want to be approved. Sorry.
No problem.
Did you have?
Mr. Chairman, sorry to sort it out. Like I said, this is all that you hear. And you keep saying that in contract, that you're not. So once stop the developer from showing up here and make the case.
The developer is here.
I'm the applicant.
Here's his wife. It's a husband and a wife that want to rezone their property for apartments. Yes.
So if you are the applicant, and this is the first time I showed up. This is the third time this project is coming to us.
Okay.
And each time it's progressively getting repulsive. Because apparently there is no attempt not to satisfy us, but you have neighbors. And the city standard to meet. But based on what you say is what we would like to, these are renderings. We architects, we know what pictures can do. But when you are coming to us, you are coming with something that should be real. It's no longer rendering. Something that should be real. So I will appeal to you that go back and really put everything they have said, and the neighbors have said, and trying to recreate something that is a little bit more appealing and responsive to the neighbors and the seniors on the board. C2P2.
So I think we would do a Texas donut style that would open up the inside for additional windows. We will, I'm saying we'll come back and do that. I'm just asking for feedback so we know which direction to go in. We're looking for feedback.
There's another piece of feedback. Back of this building is at least seven levels top. That's a bit of a clash when you're surrounded by 1 and 2 story, maybe most 1-story houses. In 20, 30 years, we've never let that kind of clash happen without a lot of green space, a lot of buffering around. It's not a housing emergency to the point of ruining the neighborhood that's around it. That's our problem.
None of that's,
It's very, I don't think I've ever seen anyone bring a case in here for approval that's ever been as vague. And maybe it's not your fault. Maybe the people that are running this project are sending you the dogs. But these presentations that you've made are not. Realistic.
Can I ask what level of detail is needed? Because I mean, I want to make sure we're better prepared for next time.
You show the parking garage and all the cars in the parking garage, and you don't show one single floor plate of what kind of apartments would be scattered around. You don't go there at all.
Okay.
You put a box and a big rendering here and say that's a swimming pool. That's the conference room. None of it.
we have all the floor plates. We just didn't include it.
One thing in all of this, though, is the issue of appropriateness, which is what we look at, right? The land use appropriateness. And that's, regardless, there is a disconnect there. An intensity development like this could definitely serve a community, but not necessarily, when we're talking about the zone in and those areas that would relish the density. Great. This area, when we talk about a clash, the clash is the plan and the community, and there are ways to up that, but not to this degree. So our decision is on the appropriateness of the land use, kind of getting beyond the architectural issues. But so I think that's where I'm having the biggest struggle here, is just when we're talking about what the plan says, the community says, and what, there's some latitude in there, but this seems to go beyond that.
Do you think we could table our application and come back next month with something that would be a little bit more appropriate and address some of those concerns?
I think we could table this and then you go back to the air commission.
Yeah, we are in 2 weeks.
And vote on this so that we clear the air. I think this deserves to be voted
I think we
on.
would request a table and go back to the area commission in 2 weeks.
I'm not in favor of tabling this.
Okay.
We wasted hours of our time with very poorly presented ideas, that they're very minimally communicated with the area commission. Right back there with the laptop on his, one of the best area commissioner representatives in the city of Columbus. I don't think he's ever seen a presentation like this come in before him. There's nothing here, keep your hands. It's
We met with them 6 times.
Buildings on Boston here. It's like that Boston. If you tore down a warehouse in New York City, you put this up there, you're on salon, you're on Freemas Avenue. It's a whole different ballgame. You're you're not answering the questions, you're not laying your approach to what you're actually going to do. You're ill prepared, and I asked last time, you need to talk to a professional engineer or architect and lay these things out. Partially from a technical point of view, you don't have to have every nail and screw pinpointed. But as John very clearly brought out, you got units that are smaller than hotel rooms, and you're gonna make people live for 365 days a year.
I think the standard that's being applied isn't what the statutes read, so we have a difference in opinion too. It's not required as part of a rezoning application.
That's your approach, you can go out, because that doesn't work for what we do. And as my cohort there said, we make decisions based on, is it appropriate? Or is it not appropriate? And you're so vague that it's hard to even begin to give you any credit for figuring out that blanket.
I got you. I appreciate it.
You're bringing us a square peg and trying to pound it into a round hole. And I feel sorry for you because you're the guy that has to get work here.
It's my job.
And
I think this is going way better than last time, so I'm very happy to hear feedback, so.
well, you don't need to, I don't know who's doing all this work. But
Me.
bringing pictures to somebody else's buildings and saying it's gonna be like this. And sometimes projects start out like this. But how do you say that's appropriate? In your point of view, it's a project you want to do. You.
I think what's appropriate is what's been approved. That's the threshold I apply, so I'm not in here to make jokes or anything.
But what's been approved is this here.
This is Columbus, this is Columbus, this is Columbus.
And Victorian Village is Columbus, and so is Bethel Road. They are vastly different. Columbus is hugely different from neighborhood to neighborhood, village to village. So that's what we're saying, is that just because it's working in a German village does not mean it works on the south side.
But there's no design guidelines for the south side. There is for C2B2 guidelines, which we've met. As the what?
Yeah.
Yes. He does what we ask him to.
Well, I would like to motion to vote on this. So all right. Please call the roll.
Yeah.
I asked for a table, he said he doesn't want to table it.
If you want to ask for a table.
I did ask for a table.
Okay. Does anyone here want?
I'd like somebody to give us the Robert's rules on. Let's do this right.
What is it?
I mean, I think we can vote on it tonight, but if you go back to the area commission, and make changes, you guys might have an obligation to hear it again. But I'm not your attorney, so I can't tell you. This is a recommendation, so. Yeah.
Well, we
Mostly, I think if you get a request to table, then that's probably something you should.
given the track record of what I've seen so far, I have very little confidence that there will be anything remotely close to an acceptable layout that is well represented.
Well, I think there's been some feedback tonight, and if that does come back before you, you can just do the presentation, give the speakers, and give your vote. So
Third time we've sat and talked about a project like this for an hour. And got nowhere. So.
You saw where we started, 500,000 and 450.
Let's start out with a motion to table. Second. Great. All those in favor of table. Okay, that passes 3-1.
Thank you very much.
You are tabled.
Thank you.
See you guys next month.
Disappointed that they didn't just start it. No, they can start the first.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, case number 4. D 24-032-5524 North.
The 3.80 acre site consists of 3 parcels, 1 undeveloped, 1 developed indoor sports and athletic facility, and 1 containing the access driveway to the site, all zoned in the LC4 limited commercial district. The requested CPD commercial plan development district will allow the expansion of the existing indoor sports and athletic facilities and proposes a second 21,225 square foot commercial building at this location. North of the site are commercial retail uses in the LC4 limited commercial district. South are medical offices in the LC4 limited commercial district. East are single unit dwellings in the D6 planned unit development district. And west is an animal shelter and retail uses in the LC4 limited commercial district. The site is located from the boundaries of the North Plan Volume 2, which recommends the preserve district at this location, but does not include specific land use recommendations. The site is located within the boundaries of the Northland Community Council, whose recommendation is for approval. The CPD text commits to a site plan that establishes use restrictions and supplemental development standards addressing height, building and parking setbacks, access and landscaping. It includes modifications to code standards for parking setbacks, loading space, building setbacks, and a reduced parking requirement from 208 spaces to 150, which is also included. The proposed CPD commercial plan development district will allow limited commercial uses at this location. While the proposed commercial development is consistent with similar zoning districts along the North Hamilton Road corridor, the following items will need to be addressed prior to recommending full approval. Provide documentation of correspondence from the Division of Mobility and Parking Services regarding the request to reduce the minimum number of required parking spaces. Include a commitment in the CPD text to provide cross-access easements for the properties immediately to the south, consistent with the existing zoning text, and to allow these properties to access Preserve Boulevard. The aisle to the west of the proposed phase 1 building may be the most appropriate location for a potential future connection to the south, consistent with item 3 and 4 of the existing limitation text for the site. Provide on-site landscaping along the driveway entering the site consistent with the Northland standards recommending buffering and to define sites and separation from the roadway. Recommend consulting with the city forester for the inclusion of street trees along the southern portion of the proposed drive aisle and confirm that parking lot trees are still being provided. Upon completion of the comments above, the city department's recommendation can be for full approval. I'm not going to answer any questions.
Any questions? Dan, traffic?
For the parking reduction that's included in this application, we've had some coordination with Vision Mobility Department Services. They've asked the applicant to provide more information on the anticipated parking demand and are encouraging the applicant to reach out to the neighboring property owner to the north due to potential for parking to spill over from this site to the site. Otherwise, what's in the staff report is still current.
Chris?
No further comments.
Okay, is anyone here to speak regarding this? Okay, before that, do you want to add anything to the staff's presentation?
Yeah, I'd like to speak on the parking issue, if I might. I did respond to Joe this morning. He reached out to me yesterday, just requesting some more information regarding the parking. I guess I want to kind of clarify what REP is. It's a youth sports practice and training facility. Our athletes are obviously minors. They're not driving to the site. So what we have found is, parents will come, they'll drop their kids off, their kids will practice, train, parents will come and pick them up. We do not have a very high traffic demand at all. I sent Joe some photos that were taken just yesterday evening during practice of the parking lots around the existing building, that would show that, again, we were not nearly full on parking. So I did just want to, sort of stress that we feel the parking that we're showing is appropriate. it looks disproportionate because of the size of the building. But when you consider that that building is a field house training facility, it's not, it's not containing a high population of people. It's not a spectator facility. That's why, it appears disproportionate.
What's the age group of the kids that normally?
Yeah, I can speak to that. I'm the applicant, Adam Troutner, at Stonehenge Company, and this is a business that my wife and I started last year. So most of our, if we have any kind of tournament, let's say, we have 2 courts, number one. So, if you look at a lot of athletic facilities that have tournaments, they're going to have a lot more courts involved too. So at any time we would have, 2 courts going. And so there's going to be, let's call it games. 2 basketball courts, yeah. And we do have volleyball courts that go that cross, but they're. No, that's not. No, that's not. Yeah, that's an out of town person, yeah. But in this case, it's basically 3rd through 6th grade would be our primary for our youth leagues and tournaments. We occasionally will have some, like we ran a freshman basketball league for the high school, at the end of the spring. But we did that during the week. And we get all types of uses there. We get people that rent, for a shoe, 1 court they'll rent for a day to sell shoes. I mean, it's just, it's an interesting business from that standpoint that you do get requests because people need space and we have courts that are open. But mainly we're, tonight I'm sure it's New Albany travel basketball practicing there. There'll be 2 teams on 2 full courts, practicing for an hour and a half. So that's why last night, that was me that took those pictures because I was out there with my kids that were there. And that's been our experience is to the east and to the south, which this building will be sitting on the south, but we still maintain parking. The parking that's shown between the 2 buildings, that parking is there right now. They're right on the south side of our current property. So that parking will maintain. But, one other item that I would mention is that when you mentioned about the other property owner, we haven't found a lot of collaboration with them. We have reached out to them and we were hung up on, we were talking to them about the easement because there's an easement that goes around the building. So our original plan was to see if we could attach the building and then put the easement out around our building. And he asked us to send a plan and then when we called him, he hung up the phone on us and didn't even respond to us. And I think Dave could probably speak to I think there was some contact he tried to make and never showed up at anything. So I don't think getting him to come on board with any kind of collaboration, I think is a non-starter. At the same time, people can park on our site today and go walk into their stores. Just like they can park on his site and walk into our facility. There's no way to restrict anyone from doing that outside of somebody standing out there and policing the site, which I've not seen them doing, and we don't do that. So that's what I would kind of speak to that part. I don't think we'll be able to get any kind of reciprocal. We do have a reciprocal easement agreement around the building, and we're maintaining that.
Okay, let's hear from the area commissioner and bring you back.
Great seats. I think you have.
Okay. Thank you again, Chair Fitzpatrick, members of the commission. I'm Dave Paul. I chair the Northland Community Council Development Committee, or co-chair it. We heard this case on 2 separate occasions. We first heard it in August. And at that time, this was an application to rezone this roughly 4-acre site from LC4 to LC4 with a council variance to reduce parking. Our committee had some difficulty with that, and most of it had to do with the parking variance. We understand what the applicant has said in terms of this use not requiring a lot of parking as much as a retail use in the same space, et cetera. But our concern, and our committee tries to be intentional about this, is to look forward in the future when perhaps they're so successful they've moved on to another facility or whatever, and there's some other use on this site. The structure that we're talking about, the new structure, is such that it could be easily be converted into office space. It's a shell, and a lot of things can go in that space at some point in the future. So we were very concerned about a variance that basically would go with the land and would limit the amount of parking on this site. The applicant was responsive to that, and ultimately this application was changed to rezone from LC4 to CPD in order to basically tie this reduction in parking to this particular use. And the committee frankly felt much better about that. There were really very few other issues that the committee had with the application. We did make a suggestion. We did not make it a condition, and that simply had to do with the loading area on the back of the site. That it be a dedicated and pavement marked area because there was none when it was presented to us. Other than that, the committee did recommend approval of this application on September 25th, the second hearing of it. The vote was 15-1 in opposition. I don't know if the chair would like me to respond at all to the concern about an adjoining property owner who did contact me and express some concerns, however, was invited to attend our hearing and did not appear. So he did not present his own case. I can tell you a little bit about what he was thinking only to the degree he told me, but that's probably hearsay.
It's pretty weak. Want to hear it? I think we'll pass.
I don't think it had to do with the specifics of the application before you. It had to do with some other changes.
The CB was a big difference.
Yeah, thank you.
What was in front of us? Yeah. And you guys like 3 years ago.
Yes, you want to address that?
Yeah.
If it's okay, I'll let the applicant address it. Thank you. I'll be available.
Hey, based on what you said about him, I don't want to remove him and take his spot. So. Yeah, that's right. I know that. He's the best. Yeah, when we bought this building 2 years ago, we came through with the addition in the front. That was on our original planning. So the front addition, and I think he didn't mention, that's what one of I think the person that called had made a comment about our front addition, which was approved, a couple of years ago. Yeah. So I think one thing, we have not heard any comments from them, at least, and Dave can correct me if I'm wrong, but anything towards parking from the applicant to the north. And I think some of that does have to do with the fact that it's an open parking area that, there's a border between there, but with the reciprocal easement with the road, shared access the shared access easement, people can come and go. So, yeah.
Remember that.
Okay. I think we understand the essence of the CPD. Does anyone want to have a comment or what's? I think you're on your way to the phone. Okay. The 18's spoken. All those in favor? Aye. Please go.
John Ingleson,
Yeah.
Dan Quinn,
Yes.
Maria Conroy,
Yes.
Charlie Patrick.
Yes, you're approved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We are.
Thanks for your patience.
Okay.